Okay, so I'm always on the lookout, for new deals, new things on eBay, checking out stuff about the EliteDesk, and I stumbled upon this guy. I don't know, I guess you could call it a cousin of the EliteDesk 800, maybe a very interesting, quirky cousin. And when I saw it and the specs, I'm like, this is something really different. I need to get it. So this unit, it has it uses DDR3. It's the HP 260 G1 DM, desktop mini. It comes with a processor that usually is for laptops. So it's the i3, 4030U. And if you look it up, it's mainly for mobile or, for laptops. It can do a max of 16 gig. It doesn't use the normal AE slot for the Wi-Fi. Instead, it has a mini PCIe half slot. The fan and heatsink are all in one. So, and when I was looking at it, what intrigued me is it mentioned that, it can also use a SATA SSD M.2 drive. And I thought, I've got to get this. So I bought it, and it's definitely different. Okay, so let's start out with some basics. First of all, it uses plastic everywhere. It's not the nice metal that you would expect with the EliteDesks. The front does not have, just like the normal other G1s, there's no USB-C, just the normal USB-A. The back, very different looking. So you've got a display port, you've got VGA. They put the network port over here. This is a Real-Link, not a Intel. You've got your normal USBs here. I think this is probably like a line out. The power, it does use the same sort of power, 65 watt, all that jazz that the other ones do. Let's see, do I have it sitting? Oh, here it is. It doesn't use a thumb screw. You actually have to remove this guy from here. And on the bottom, this unit doesn't have it. But what's standard on the bottom, there are two very long M2 screws that are screwed into here, and then they've got little rubber caps on these. So you have to take the rubber cap, you have to take these screws out in order to get to the back. So it still has, of course, the VESA connectors. Does not say on the back here what it is. Just like the other ones do. I guess you must have gotten some flavor of Windows with it. It does have the serial number. I looked at this serial number. This originally came with a 500 gig hard drive, 7,200 RPMs, one 4 gig stick. I think that was the basics on that. Let's open it up. You've got the sticker on here for the i3. This came with, you could get i3, i5, Celeron, which is interesting. I mean, I guess I have seen it used on some of them. They seem to be almost touting the Celeron as the upper end. Again, kind of a little confused on that. And then I think you could just get straight Pentium. So let me open up. So when I first saw this, I go, this is definitely funky. It's got this weird thing here. I don't know if you could read it. It says dim door. Dim door. Underneath here is where you have your memory. And of course, then you put the dim door over it. This is your heat sink and fan all combo here. Again, the use of plastic. This is just a plastic cage. It's got 4 screws. Here is your PCIe Mini and Wi-Fi card. This one only goes up to 802.11n. I have seen where they do have replacements that you can buy. These are the giant posts that those screws would go into. I think they're M2 by 23, if I'm reading that right on how that is. Those would go through and connect into here. Nice plastic again. Here's the inside of this. Has the same information. It only give you a 1-year warranty. A lot of the others, with the EliteDesk, you got 3. The literature I see on it always calls it business. These 260s aren't even listed on Wikipedia when you look up the history of various computers from HP, which is odd. Although they still sell, and you know, they're keeping it up. There is an HP 260 G9. So someone must have been buying them and liking them out there. Let's take this out so we can look at it. So again, it's got 4 screws. These are a little shorter. These are more like the screws you got, or you get with the EliteDesk that attaches the SATA cable. Now, their SATA cable is kind of precarious. It's sort of munged in here, stuck in with the other. So we'll see if I can. I may just have to put it to the side so it doesn't disconnect. I'm assuming that was always available. You know, it came standard with it. I did watch one video where someone had purchased, they got 3 of these, really, really cheap. Let's see if that ribbon can come out of there without, no, it looks like it's sort of part and part. Oh, wow. And look here, it's not as nice. Well, I guess you can lift this up. It's not quite I don't know, maybe this might even stay in better. I'm just going to kind of put this to the side there. Okay, so now, part of my disappointment when I received this unit, because I didn't do enough research, in the specs and documentation, it mentions the fact that you can put a 2242 into this unit. And there's a little asterisk that says, oh, Celeron only, or something like that. And I thought what it meant was that because it mentions 32 gig, I thought, well, maybe there's a limitation or they're just a recommendation. No, it truly is. This, if you see a true Celeron motherboard for this G1, this actually raises up, and there's actually, this is where the connector is, and then it comes in here, and this is where it screws into. This looks kind of big for the screw. I've seen it where it seemed a little smaller, but I believe that's where it's supposed to, you know, I mean, that looks about right as far as where it would screw into. So, again, I was a little disappointed because I thought, well, hey, I'll be able to, I've never had a 2242, a lot of 2230s, but not that. Now, this is our little dim door, and what I found after taking them out and so forth, it was kind of annoying. It's supposed to just stick right in here, but it looks like it only really comes out well unless you take out the cage. So let's lift this up. And here's our dim door. Kind of, okay. I thought that was some design. I think it looks like it just, probably perspiration from the last person that was working on this or something. Okay, we'll put that to the side. I went ahead and had put in 16 gig. I have not removed the heatsink yet, so let's give that a try and see what we've got underneath here. I'm assuming, oh, that loosened a little too easily. Let's see. I wonder if I have to take the fan. Let's see. All right. Well, when in doubt, check the manual. Let me look. So it looks like in order, there's two more screws beneath here. In order to get to them, we've got to take this fan off. And you take the fan off with these two. Always interesting getting, you know, some different kind of unit. It's going into uncharted areas. It's one of the reasons I do like the HPs, because you can always find the, usually find all the specs. I found the whole service manual, so that's kind of handy. Let's see if we can just put it to the side. There is a connector there. I'm just going to lay it there for now. Okay. Now we can take these out. These don't seem to have any sort of numbers on them. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, there's our heatsink. I've never put paste on these, but I probably should put some. Maybe clean this off and, I don't know. I'm kind of uncharted waters, but what the heck? I think I've seen on some other videos with these kinds where they can just, you know, wipe it off, and then we'll put some fresh on. Okay, so that's what it looks like under there. Let me get something to clean this up. Well, that cleaned up pretty well. I notice it is nice. It is a nice piece of copper there. Who knows how old this is as far as the paste. The unit itself, when I looked up based on the serial number, and always recommend doing that, is that you can do a warranty check. This was back from July of 2016. So, you know, what is that, 8 years old. Let's get that CPU. Okay, there's our CPU. Let's see. Yeah, a little cleaner. We'll let that, I think let the isopropyl just kind of dry a little more there. And then we'll put, I can only assume I'll just put a small dab on both of them and see how that works. But this is an adventure for us all here. Okay, let's see. Okay. Hopefully with this kind, when it mushes, that we'll get a good, that it will, you know, sort of even itself out. Let's see. Maybe we can. Yeah, I don't want to mess with it too much there. I guess I could put a little. Oh. Making a mess. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and put this back on. My guess is that we tighten it in kind of an X, because I don't see numbers on here. So I'm going to tighten it a little here, a little there, a little there, a little there. And then maybe, interesting. I just noticed there's little triangles right there. Hard to see, but I guess if you help line them up, that will get them. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sure people are yelling at me right now. There is one. Yeah, okay. Well, I was doing okay. One. There's a 1, a 2, 3. Okay, so it was okay. So I'm going to do 1. Okay. Starting to hold now. Okay, here we go. That's better. And 4. Okay. That looks good. Let's put the fan back on. Of course, make sure to put the dim door on first. And that just pretty much just lays in there. Okay, let's put this. Want to rip that out. Let's see. Oh, there we go. It's definitely different. And it does make you appreciate the EliteDesks and their construction. I can't imagine that this was that cheap. Even back then, you know, in comparison in terms of you know, it did use lower end, you know, materials and tech and everything else, but you know, I doubt it was that much cheaper. So, okay, make sure that's it. Okay, so let's give it some juice. I'll go in and, oh, well, kind of need a boot drive. Let's use our one we use for all our Windows testing here. Okay, we'll power it up, and we'll first go into the BIOS, and I'll show you. It does look a lot like the G1. Okay, here we are in kind of the boot up area. I did mention that when you, at least for my unit, when I first turn it on, the fan sounds like it's dying, but it does simmer down, and actually once things start going, it's pretty whisper quiet. One thing I also wanted to point out with this processor is that it has a TDP of 15 watts as opposed to the 35 watt and 65 watt of the more traditional processors that you put into the EliteDesk. So it's obviously made for trying to be as low power, presumably low heat, that sort of thing too. So here's kind of the pretty standard startup menu. If we go to the BIOS setup, one thing I didn't find in here, and it doesn't work on the G1 anyway, but on here I couldn't find any place to do a BIOS setup. So, or I should say not setup, BIOS upgrade. There is a way where you can, check out the support and download from there to do any kind of updates. That was even a little weird because the directory for the batch files and everything was wrong. So there's a lot of this. This is it's a again funky little quirky unit. But there are some stuff to keep in mind. Now, what you'll want to do is if you want to turn on the virtual machine, so you can do or virtualization, I should say. If you want to do Proxmox, you need to go into System Security, and where it's got that virtualization technology, that's where you want to enable. And then that way it will work. And I've tried this particular unit out. It booted into Proxmox without a problem. In Proxmox, it shows that it has 4 cores that it can play with in terms of the because it's the CPU. It's 2-core 4th thread. So in essence, to Proxmox, you really have sort of like 4 cores that you could play with to assign. And so, yeah, again, worked out fine. From here, I'll go into Windows. I'll just kind of show you what it looks like in there. It runs, it does its thing, but it is an older unit, and it's definitely lighter because of the plastic. I wouldn't go so far as to call it, let's say, well. Okay, it's got definitely a cheaper feeling. I mean, it's kind of hard to compete when you've got a nice metal case that's very sturdy and so forth, and you have something like this, which it's presumably sold again for a lot less. So let's get out of here and we'll go into Windows. Okay, booted into Windows. It actually didn't take that long. This is the same one I use on most of my videos, Windows 11 Pro. Performance, again, it's got the CPU. It's running at 1.9 gigahertz, 1 socket, 2-core, 4 logical processors. Virtualization's turned on. I've got 16 gig of memory. Yeah, it's obviously using a lot of the CPU. It also is, of course, just starting up, so it could be checking for updates. It's starting to come down a little bit here. You've got your Ethernet. I do have looks like the Wi-Fi does work on the unit. I ran some tests at full load, and as far as the thermals, even at full load at 100%, at after 5 minutes, it was around 60 Celsius, which isn't bad. It stayed there and then came down, cooled. I was able to run the Cinebench for the that CPU definitely is not going to win any awards. I think for the multiprocessor one, it got a value of 68, and when you compare that to, let's say, the 6500T, which had around 148, 150, so you could see kind of the the difference is there. I can try a little bit. I'll get some numbers for the power consumption, because I know that's important to some folks. But that's about it. Let's also look at the let's see. Let's look up the device security. And see what it shows for TDP. Excuse me, not TDP. I get these acronyms all messed up. TPM, sorry. Okay, so yeah, it's 1.2. Wow, it's a real old manufacturer version. I think when we were playing around with some of the other units doing upgrades, we were like version 6.2 or something like that. So I don't think these can, you know, go any higher, but it does show up there. Okay. Let me shut this down, and I'm going to do a little bit of testing with the kilowatt. Actually had some pretty nice and pretty impressive as far as the kilowatt. Totally off, it draws about 0.5 watts. In sleep, about 1.1. Just sort of normal Windows just running around 17. And even at heavy, the most I could really see is around 27. So that's pretty good, because a lot of the other units were going anywhere, you know, 40, 50, you know, up there as far as the mount. I assume that's related to the fact of the type of processor, and trying to keep down the you know, the overall usage, which would kind of make sense if it was for a laptop, so that way you know, you're not drawing too much battery. Now, as far as would I recommend this unit, you know, if you could get it real cheap, I got it pretty cheap. I still think I may have paid a little over for it, you know, but I think that was just my expectations and not doing my research and to know really what I was getting into. I definitely like the better construction of the EliteDesks. It's kind of hard to compare the two, but if you needed something that was really, you know, much lower in terms of the perhaps you know, power usage, might be something to look at. So, but there are, and they do come in G2s and G3s and all that sort of thing. You know, those may have more options that might make it a little more attractive.